Recording is on.
Hello and welcome to the BizDev call for Monday, November 16th, 2020. Welcome everyone. I'll briefly go through the agenda. And the first item is if there are any new members or introductions, then feel free to introduce yourself after this. The other items on the agenda are the Fuse collaboration that we should discuss internally. Maybe a holistic discussion about DXDAO and its product strategy. The 1KX hackathon proposal that I can share in the chat. And yeah, I think that is it. Is there anyone new here? I don't think so.
Yeah, maybe I have introduced myself. I know.
Yeah, go for it, Martin.
I never did have my introduction speech, so yeah, strange. So maybe I talk a little bit about my background. So I studied media art. I started as a media artist. I studied media art. It's my first study because I want to become an artist. No, I don't know. I just started media art. We tried to make art with the internet. And it was I started shortly before the dot-com boom, and then the dot-com boom crashed everything. And after this study, because we tried to make art with the internet finally, and I did my final work in this exam. I wrote a paper about software archiving. Because if you make art with the internet, then you make art with software, and software is really difficult to store long term. So then also I learned to code this time, and I'm a self-taught coder. And at the core, I'm like a software guy, and afterwards I get into I had my own business for 15 years, and we had a web agency with 2 other partners. My involvement with crypto, I started in 2011. I bought some Bitcoin, and I thought it's very fascinating. I read all the white paper, and since then I'm really hooked. I'm really hooked to crypto. I also took part in the crowd sale, or how is it called? What's the public sale of Ethereum? It was more coincidence. I don't know why finally. But then, since ever, I look how it's going to develop on Ethereum. In between, I have worked like a full stack dev. I'm a Linux guy since 20 years. And because I'm really interested in how new things come to the world, that's one thing I'm still very interested in the crypto, because it's one space where a lot of new things come to the world. I also did a Master of Advanced Study Innovation Engineering, because that's also part of innovation. It's also how new things come to the world. And I left my company, my web agency, in the spring because I got bored. I did this for 15 years, and I couldn't imagine to do this the next 20 years. So I left my company, and now I'm looking for getting to join you if you accept me, and we will see how things develop. And
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I think that's all. If you have any question, I'm open. I'm quite a mixed bag. I also did I think after I left my company, I did a lot. I made product ownership, Scrum product owner and Scrum master. And we will see how things develop.
Yeah, I would say maybe this is a topic for later, but I think something we're kind of looking into is product strategy. and like a
Yes.
long-term vision and decision.
Yeah, my mind is not that short term. I have more like a visionary view on many things. So yeah, I think I'm more long-term thinking guy, it looks like. And I have many ideas for different protocols we can make, but I don't know. Yeah, we will see.
Yeah, I think the timing is good here because we're actually just, we've been doing a lot for some time now, but haven't really had a good discussion about product strategy. And I think we're starting to do that now.
Yes, that's perfect. Yeah, I see things.
Yeah, all right. Awesome. Well, welcome, Martin. And yeah, I mean, I saw that you've been active in the chat, so I guess feel free to converse in the chat. I think this is where most of the things happen. And if you have any big idea or something, feel free to either do it in the chat or in the DAO Talk forums, and just yeah, that's the best way to get like feedback on an idea.
Yes. Yeah, I will.
Anyone else? We have anyone else new? No, I don't think so. So should we start with like the Fuse collaboration? And I guess this is bigger than Fuse. This is something that could be for other projects as well.
Yeah, I think we need to maybe discuss a little bit more broadly what we're looking to do. We already have the DMM kind of partnership that was kind of inked back in the spring, but hasn't really materialized into much activity yet. PrimeDAO is interested in some kind of a partnership, and I think there's actually a call right after this one with some folks who volunteered to do that. I think that's today. And Fuse, they actually joined us on a BizDev call a few weeks ago. I don't know if it's Fuse.io. They're like their own blockchain. I think they're focused on payments. They have their own validators and run. And so I think one of the things, they ran their IDO on Mesa, and so they were proposing some kind of a token swap, and also maybe DXDAO participating in staking on the Fuse network. And so one of the questions I had when they presented is, well, like, how would that technically work? Because we've had conversations about running software and stuff on, so it's hard for DXDAO to directly be doing that. So I had a follow-up conversation with a couple of them on their team. That was either last week or the week before, and the way they were suggesting we could do it is by delegating our stake to some validator, whether that's like somebody we trust, like that we know, or somebody from their network. But I guess that it is possible to have the delegation of stake set up such that you're not trusting that validator to actually get your reward. That's happening kind of automatically through a smart contract. But yeah, it would just be holding stake, delegating to a third party. That would be the involvement there, and they are suggesting some token swaps. So I just wanted to like open that up for discussion and kind of see what people think here, because we should probably get back to them and just kind of let them know what folks are thinking here.
I just want to say something about like DXDAO running software or running, let's say, a node for something. We could do this in a different way, where I guess this is a bit of the Vitalik style work, where we would open a proposal for someone to, like, I don't know, stake, 10K ETH. That's kind of like governed by the DXDAO, and they are running the node, and they get paid for that on a monthly basis. And if they act maliciously or they do something bad, then we would slash them. We would slash that 10K ETH that they put, or 10K dollars in ETH. So this is kind of like a way for DXDAO to actually run software, or to accomplish these things. So yeah, like this is like, I actually dived into BISC. I don't know if people know here, but it's kind of like an actual decentralized exchange, like with software as well, and they have like a DAO, and then all of the roles there, there are people who are getting like salaries, Yeah, so they've done like a lot of work and a lot of like mileage in that regard. But people are getting salaries, but they're locking like a big stake, and then they get rewarded for that, for doing their job. And if they fuck up, then yeah, they get slashed. So just kind of like a side note, I guess. Sorry for yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing to potentially explore. I guess I'm curious, just what do people think about Fuse? Like, would people be open to the idea of a token swap? Does it make sense to do something like this and stake with them?
I mean, the main issue I have is there's no one here who cares about Fuse. And if there's no one here who cares about Fuse, then we shouldn't probably not run a validator.
Yeah.
And that's it.
And they were suggesting that somebody from their team could join our meetings, like to participate. Or they'd have like one delegate like showing up on at least some of our meetings on a weekly basis, and then maybe vice versa. But that is a good point. Like, who would actually care about it and do any of the liaising?
Yeah, it's one of those things that it's hard to force or like create. It kind of, I guess this is kind of like DXDAO's way, is like an organic, reaching a conclusion or coming to something in an organic way. So it's hard to figure out exactly how that would happen here. But I just kind of agree with the broad point of figuring out ways to cooperate with different organizations, whether it be Fuse, Radical, Urbit, and anything about these partnerships with other groups. We need to figure out how to do it, but I think it is going to be something that's an organic alignment of interest.
I little bit I see like a social, the swapper. Sometimes I have a little bit feeling it's like a social, maybe it develops in a social direction, And so, because I just shortly looked at their page and I don't know what they really do, but if there's a fit with our vision about building like a, social community or a money social community, then maybe it's interesting for us because they have they make social money, or looks like on the first glance.
So, do you mean if DXDAO has a focus on social tokens, community and social tokens as part of Swapper?
No. Our Swapper has like this fee setting. It's like the fee setting thing is something. If you have a pair in a pool, then people have to communicate, and it's like it's a social way or a kind of community who doesn't exist in other pools. And I think, I don't know which direction we go, but I see it's one direction. It's like we say the DXDAO itself makes tools for decentralized communities. I don't know. That's what I saw a little bit, that we make our own tools. We need to be decentralized. And these tools also fit in like people coordinating on a pool about the fee in a decentralized way. And then maybe this project is a fit. I don't know. Just my opinion. I don't know if it's a fit, or do you see something in this direction, this project?
Yeah, it's not clear to me.
Yeah, as far as I know.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
They have their own fork of Uniswap, probably. Like they have Fuse Swap. So I think they kind of want to eat their own cake and don't want to share it with Swapper. Yeah, but it like not derail it from the Fuse discussion. Like I see like Swapper merging more and more with like our own services, like Omen, and maybe even like the NFT use case is also like something we should look into. But yeah, like if there's no one who wants to be that person who wants to interact with Fuse, like we saw with Radical, it came from us. Like we need decentralized development tools, which are like very rare and like shit as hell. That's why we're kind of focusing on Radical and Urbit as like the second layer scaling solution for everything besides blockchain technologies. But for me, like Fuse is not interesting and I don't care.
Yeah, I think we could maybe leave it like that, where we'd be open to something if it was community driven, but right now there's a lack of that kind of organic interest from the DXDAO side.
I guess a question could be raised here. What if it's, I don't want to say like one-sided, but what if the DXDAO gets paid to participate in their governance? Either with tokens or this could be like a revenue model.
I think in theory the staking could generate revenue. I mean, it generates more Fuse token anyways.
So I don't know.
Well, maybe we could get back to them on that and see, like, what they might be like. Tell them that there isn't a lot of organic interest, but if there were, maybe something could be worked out, and then maybe they can make a DAO Talk post on what they are thinking for, the actual setup, and we could get community feedback on that. always the answer. Just make a DAO Talk post.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So that's that. The next kind of thing is either the DXDAO product strategy, but I think that could like go on forever. So I don't know. Maybe we could start with the 1KX hackathon proposal. Let me.
Yeah, probably a good idea to knock that out before we go down to into the black hole.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, we get a couple of free bounties on a hackathon on GitHub. Oh, sorry, on Gitcoin. And yeah, like I guess this could be like a brainstorm of like what kind of bounties do we think we need? What could we put on the hackathon? And yeah.
I actually think it is slightly related to the next question about product strategy that we're talking about, because this is kind of like one of the things we want to incentivize. But just to give the two ideas that they had in their comments, one of which I think is very good and relevant is an IDO specific front end for Mesa, which we've kind of talked about, which I think is we should definitely kind of do. And I guess it's something that maybe somewhat a team could hack on for a couple weeks and produce something. And then the other one is some type of DXDAO dashboards that are hosted on Arweave, I guess instead of IPFS. So I think, yeah, I mean, I think this is a good opportunity for engagement. We've talked about hackathons in general, and I think it's also would be good to us to kind of get some consensus on this in a kind of community way. So hoping that we can find some ideas and then post to the forum, and then maybe even do a signal proposal to get some guidance on that, just so it's kind of a way of engaging the community on this. But other ideas that kind of people were thinking of, I know for Swapper, if there's Dune analytics dashboards are always kind of good, but other things people were thinking of.
Yeah, a few clarifications. So I think what they have bought and paid for are like the spots. I'm pretty sure that DXDAO needs to put up the money for the actual awards of the 2 spots. And then generally in hackathons, like those 2 specific ideas are, always it's good to like propose some ideas for hackathons, but those look more like bounties, right? And hackathons generally, like ETH Denver and things, even when companies sponsor them, you kind of say you have to set some overall parameters that people can build within, and then you give them the freedom So we
It's
can
pretty
have
general, right? Like it's like something like integrating with a DXDAO product or something.
exactly.
Right? Like,
Right? That's generally what's done. So those two, but these two ideas are also good ideas that you can put out there, but people don't have to choose those ideas. They have to be able to choose within a bigger framework. But the cool thing about DXDAO suite of products is that we always talk about is like doing things across different products. So like if you say like find cool ways to link together find some hacks to link together some of DXDAO's products, and someone comes up with a way to some new game or situation that uses Swapper plus Omen or whatever. Because dashboards and those things are like less of a hack, like some new idea, than just like bounties that we could put out there in addition to the hackathon. Yeah, but we also need the first part was I'm pretty sure on the call Chris said that is we need to fund those spots ourselves or like come up with the prize money. Pretty sure.
Good points. Everything you said, I thought was good.
Yeah, like shouldn't we like? I mean, we have two worker groups specifically focused on products. Like one way we could do it, just like for the products focus, is that each team is trying to figure out what is actually a cool idea for their products. And then like the cool thing with the DXDAO is that we can actually improve ourselves, like our own system. So like I would suggest that each team is like focusing on a list of things we would be cool, just as like an inspiration for the hackers, and maybe even like include bounties. But also like in terms of the DXDAO needs a lot of shit, right? The vesting UI, what else? Like a DXDAO scan, where we actually see how those on-chain systems interconnect, and maybe someone can create something where we can easily add new contracts to the system, and we have like a visualization of how the DXDAO is living on Ethereum. Stuff like that. Like there's actually tons to be made. So I don't think we are short on ideas.
yeah, I like this idea of breaking it up with the two. There's like teams that are established around Omen and Swapper, and the two tracks maybe could be using Omen in some way or using Swapper in some way, and then we could, the teams could be available to support any of the hackers and help them with the integrations or any technical things they're stuck on.
Yeah, like the best thing that happens at hackathons is we have like a pretty good prize. Like first prize, $5,000 or whatever, 4,000, then 3,000, then 2,000, and you make the money good enough to get people's attention, and then you literally let them come up with, and then 50 people submit ideas, and then 3 of those are going to be awesome ideas, and those awesome ideas will either get built during the hackathon or will get expanded upon post-hackathon. But you really want 50 people trying to submit ideas. You want as many people, and because it's not always the product that's built during the hackathon, it's the idea that comes out of it that is often the powerful thing.
Yeah, I think the beauty of this here too is like there is the opportunity to continue working like for DXDAO into the future, depending on what it is and how it fits in.
Yeah, that's actually a really great point. And like this is something no one can do. And with that, I mean, we should include an invite with rep. So we basically invite them into the organization.
Yeah, it's kind of how Federico came in, right? He won a Loopring hackathon and then got invited to Loopring DXDAO, and now he's a full-time worker. It's pretty cool.
Federico can be the spokesperson for
I would actually like to see like DXrays being kind of, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, like to make it usable by others, and then this could kind of tie with like Fuse, or like these, like we can offer a package of use DXrays to raise funds. Some of your funds raised will go to DXDAO, etc. So I guess this is something that's worth exploring.
Or to generalize that a bit, we could have the track be capital formation. We could kind of point to, oh, this is how DXDAO did its fundraising. This is how projects are using Mesa to do fundraising. There's other things going out there with Balancer and Uniswap, and we're just launching Swapper. Use your imagination, do something cool with capital formation, and the prize for that is whatever.
Yeah, or I mean, specifically, I would say honest, or I don't know if honest is the word, but yeah, like legit kind of capital formation where it doesn't just go to like founder's wallet where they can decide what to do with it. But
accountable fundraising, I think, is maybe.
Yeah. All right.
And you can be the judge of what's accountable and legitimate.
Accountable is DXDAO, man.
Chris, just to kind of update you, we're talking about the hackathon thing here. I actually like the way John was framing that as kind of like the 3 tracks that we'd be trying to or incentivize, or having a track. And it would be like, if you integrate, 1 would be if you integrate with Omen in some way. 2 would be integrate with Swapper in some way. And we have kind of teams around both of those. And I guess the 3rd would be the capital formation, which would be both the Mesa idea and then also DXrays, which is the bonding curve. So I guess those would be, those are kind of maybe the good categories, we think, to kind of like incentivize people to have some type of things to check off. I don't know if you had any kind of thoughts on those, or how to kind of frame it, because I guess Sky made a good point about how it's not necessarily looking for a bounty to be like, can you build XYZ? More of, did you accomplish X in building your product? Did you integrate with them, and did you kind of integrate with these other projects? So wanting to have identified those requirements.
Okay, yeah, thank you. And like, sorry for not being able to join earlier. I had like another call. So, okay, I like this too. But like we've also been like participating in like a lot of like ETH Global hackathons. Also like organized some of them. And like one issue that we've always seen with these kind of like bounties is, I mean, like the bounty a la, use our product, and then you're like eligible for the bounty is, they just go out of their way, just to like put your like try to use your protocol in some way, but it doesn't necessarily like benefit the product at all, or they just do it to get the bounty, right? So what I would expect here to like happen, especially like for example like with Swapper, for example, they're just going to implement Swapper versus like Uniswap, but then like in the actual like once they kind of like release it, they're just gonna swap it out for Uniswap, or like something in that area, right? So I mean, I don't mean to like shoot these kind of like ideas down. It's definitely cool as well. I just want to like highlight what is likely going to happen there.
Yeah, that's of course like the stage where the DXDAO is kind of losing in that game, right? But like, as someone who cares about Omen, I think I can try to come up with something where, if that stuff is like delivered as I kind of want to see it happen, we can basically take it and then make sure it's like merged into the product, and we will definitely like use it. But there's I totally see your view on things. I have one question for you regarding Arweave, as you guys are like deeper involved into the project. I would love to see like alternative hosting providers for our products. Do you know if it's possible to right now like easily resolve Arweave hashes or whatever it is? And even like, do you know if it's possible to connect ENS with Arweave?
Yes, I asked them. So they also have like an IPFS bridge, and they said like at the very least it would be doable to connect via the IPFS bridge. It might be like a little bit slower, but there might already be like it might already have happened that someone in the community has created like this direct ENS integration. So we could ask in the community itself, but if not, it should always be doable via like an IPFS bridge. But then you might as well use IPFS.
Yeah, the idea would be to, or I feel like the opportunity would be to replace IPFS or put something in parallel with IPFS, right? While still using ENS, because ENS is how DXDAO actually exercises control by setting the content hashes of the domain names.
Yeah. Okay. So like the Omen prediction market would have like a bounty, right? And then what else?
Yeah, I feel like Omen, I think your point was definitely related. I think with Swapper, it's kind of, we can't be generic or Mesa or something. We can't just have a kind of an integration thing on that. But I feel like with Omen, that is a kind of more of, if people are building something into there, and I think Quarkus can kind of develop something that should be usable for that. Maybe something around scalar markets, even just kind of if someone built something for scalar markets, that would be probably a pretty good requirement. And then, so if that's Omen, what is kind of the other chunk? We'll think about something for Omen, but what is the kind of other thing we want to do? I guess Mesa, Swapper, or kind of how do we want to be specific but open to?
Yeah, I think to address like Chris's concern about, I mean, I've been to a bunch of hackathons, a lot of the ETH Global ones, and I know exactly what you're talking about, where you'll see those projects and they'll like, their project will, be eligible for like half of the prizes or but they do it in the lightest way possible, right? And sometimes it's like, which projects are even getting a lot of competition. If we just, just lightly integrate with Kyber and then we'll get their reward, right? Like, or whatever. And I think we can maybe address that by kind of, I don't know how we frame it, and like not just using Swapper or using Omen, but really building something useful like on top of it that advances. And maybe we could be specific enough in the description so that people know they can't just like do a trade on Swapper or set up a pool. It would need to be something that adds value to Swapper more generally.
Yeah, and I think that's how 1inch got created. They wanted to optimize for as many bounties as possible.
Yeah, 1inch were like the guys, I met them in like all the ETH Global hackathons. They're just like literally the bounty hunters.
ETH New York. Yeah, that's funny.
Okay, and I think we also need to settle on an amount. That could be like a bit more contentious. Like, how do you guys suggest how to like approach that?
Yeah, how does the funding work? Because Sky was saying that you guys have bought the slots, but then DXDAO is going to have to fund the reward. Is that right?
Yeah, so exactly. So we basically, I think we paid like $15,000. So which will go to like this Metacartel grants round number 8. But it also like allows us to allocate like 10 bounties to our portfolio projects, and so we wanted to give 2 to you guys. And yeah, like the bounty amount has to be like specified by the project itself.
And usually, like, we could have a first, second, and third. In each track, you could have a first, second, and third prize, right? And or is it?
I actually don't know that. I was linking this document there. Let me see if they have like explained it a little bit more there. Price bounty, challenge description, submission requirements. It looks like there's just one winner.
I mean, presumably, yeah.
But I can ask the Gitcoin team as well. So
We could have unofficial second and third place. Scott.
yeah, I mean that is definitely something which where we have like the freedom to do whatever we want.
And do you have an idea of like what? Because like different hackathons have different ranges, but like a few $1,000s would be the prize, or like.
Yeah, so there also they put like a post up, which is kind of like a tutorial how to price work on Gitcoin. And so like usually what was our experience is large bounties usually like attract not so great developers, whereas like smaller bounties motivate intrinsically like motivated developers. And so yeah, my recommendation would be not to shoot too high, but I don't really have like an exact. I mean, it kind of like has also depends on like how big the scope is. Like the points that I suggested, for example, that would have been probably like been a bit more complicated, right? I think like an Omen integration. I mean, depending on the scope of the task, could be much easier. Here, I'll share the Gitcoin blog post.
And I guess the other question is what the reward would be. Obviously, I think we could do DAI, ETH, DXD, and rep too.
Could be anything.
And I don't know what people are thinking about kind of using those. The only reason I was also thinking about not like the DAI ETH is if it's going to come from the treasury, it might be easier just to kind of have it in ETH for that. And I think it would be cool to also give a little bit of rep to the winners, is kind of Corpus saying or the Federico onboarding lane of getting people involved through that way. And then the question, I guess, what about DXD? Is there anything we can do with DXD to make it interesting? Could you like vest it over 6 months? Would that be weird? What are people thinking about the type of reward?
Yeah, vesting is usually, I mean, if it's kind of like on top to like, then it could work. But if it's the main bounty itself, then it should be direct payment. But having said that, right, there's also the possibility, that none of the submission fits the bounty criteria, right? And then you don't have to pay out anything.
I mean, I think something like, oh, go ahead, Corpus.
And is there a reason why we shouldn't pay out? Like we shouldn't pay out DXD?
Well, they
Maybe.
might sell.
Like I would maybe think maybe it's more difficult to pay that out. But if there's like no,
Federico, you got paid in Loopring currency, right?
Yeah. LRC.
How do you feel? How do you feel about that?
I mean, I don't know. At the time, I was just trying to. I didn't care too much about the bounty. I was just trying to find a good challenge, I guess. And, but yeah, I mean, it's okay for me personally. But then again, anyone has their own different view on it. I was perfectly fine at the time.
That's good.
Yeah. What if it was something like, I'm just throwing out numbers so we can move, like something like 2 to 4 ETH for first place, and then like that gets paid out immediately, and then there's $500 of DXD that is vested over 6 months. Maybe that means that they follow the project a little bit more. Maybe that $500 of DXD actually goes up, and so it'd be like 1,000, and then plus like 0.05% rep, or something like that. Or I guess 0.1% rep maybe would be what like a community rep boost. So maybe that would be there. So they would have like the almost cash-like incentive through the ETH that would be immediately maybe tie them a little bit in through DXD if we wanted to do the vesting, or just on top. I think either way, and then a little bit of rep. And it's kind of cool to be able to, I think, offer all three of those.
Yeah, I agree. Like our job is to make sure that we like absorb.
Yes, I think maybe the goal here is also to get that team to become DXDAO contributing member, or
yeah, ideally they build something awesome, and then that becomes part of the product suite. And maybe if they're awesome, they also become part of the people working for DXDAO.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess maybe the next steps would be to continue discussing this in the DAO talk. Christopher, do we have a deadline for this?
Yes, unfortunately, 24th of November, which is in 8 days. And Chris mentioned, right, that with the current voting deadlines, and it's probably best to put it up to a vote today.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I think I will need more time. What we could do is basically let the DXDAO verify the amount for the whole thing, and then we kind of make sure that we have a lot of stuff prepared for those bounties.
Yeah, I don't think like we would need to have like the final submissions. It's just, whether like, like a yes, no, and the amount.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I guess if we had so the yes and the no and the amount, but I am kind of thinking of, so what the proposal would be, it would not be, and there wouldn't be any funds being sent to it. It would just be a signal proposal of funds that would be paid out to hackathon award winners. Probably
if they need the funds, you could do something. Let's say the total is $8,000 or something, whatever it is. We could send it to the DXDAO dev multisig, and then we could use DAI, and we could turn some into DAI and use DAI or ETH or whatever. But you just need the amount to pass it, and the signal with the signal, right?
But I'm saying, do we need that? Do we need to have the funds leave in this proposal, or should we actually just keep? I mean, do we need to just keep the funds in the treasury, and then like the winners of the hackathon will come and submit a proposal to redeem their winnings?
I think the question is whether do we need the funds liquid by the 22nd of November?
The 24th, the 22nd of November is that Guy Fawkes?
I don't think so.
Okay, so we just need to make a decision, like within DXDAO.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so we could do a signal proposal today or tomorrow that just says we'll spend, we authorize this much ETH, DXD, and REP as rewards for this.
And we could even keep those, like, even if, Corcus, if you haven't gotten the specifics on the Omen, presumably we could just be generic in the signal proposal, and then whatever we submit as the specifics. We could be more specific, I guess, by the 24th.
I don't think we need to right now. I would just say we'll fund 2 tracks for this amount, signal it, and then we'll follow up later on what those tracks are and what the details will be, right? Although I think does the hackathon start on the 24th? No,
it starts on the 2nd December.
Okay, so if we fund it by the 24th and then we have the description by the 2nd, does that work?
No, we need the description by the 24th.
Okay.
It's basically Gitcoin, they want to do some promotions and they basically need the description, etc. So I would say we just prepare the description in parallel to the vote, and then whatever, if the vote turns out yes, then we have the submission ready.
Yeah, we can just delegate the description responsibility in the signal proposal, I think. Right, just say it will be by these people who will come up with a description.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess that's that. Should we move on to the next topic?
Yeah, I'll write a response to the thread this afternoon and then send a signal proposal that is based off of that.
Thank you.
Or Chris, you could, I think I could kind of submit the proposal, or Chris, we can kind of do it then, but I'll respond to the thread from there, and we'll move forward with that.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, so I guess the next topic is kind of DXDAO product strategy, and I think this is more of like an open kind of topic. Yeah, does anyone want to start? Maybe John, do you want to start? I have like a few opinions about this. Yeah.
I can say a few things. So I think, just to kind of set the stage here, where are we now and how did we get here, right? Like the initial products that were launched by DXDAO, the first one was Mesa, then Omen, then Rails, and we're about to launch Swapper. And, how did like those products come about, and like how did that direction kind of get set? It just goes back to the origin of DXDAO, how it was kind of kicked off by Gnosis and DAOstack, and then they sort of stepped back. And so Gnosis wasn't really involved in the past year, but then like over the winter, they did a couple of things that teed up basically Mesa and Omen for the DXDAO. They released the smart contract protocols on Ethereum, and they for Mesa, there was an open source repo that they provided. And even for Omen, I don't know sure how many people know this, but Gnosis actually did a grant to Protofire to seed the first version of Omen. So even Omen was kind of teed up by Gnosis. So I mean, the point I'm trying to make is Omen and Mesa were kind of like teed up, is how I like to say it. Like they're kind of like, lined up for the DXDAO to do by Gnosis, and then we ran with it, right? Now we own Omen. We've done all the development on Omen over the last half a year. We work closely with Gnosis on that. Mesa we haven't done a lot with. Rails was almost like a gift. So like Loopring funded the hackathon that Federico worked on, and then so that very first version of Rails was basically given to DXDAO, and now we're running with it. And Federico works full time with DXDAO. Swapper DX is the first product I would say that was kind of like incepted in DXDAO and actually developed like from the beginning by DXDAO itself. So, and that idea was around kind of early in the year, even over the winter was like the first idea. I did the first like post on DAO Talk, but it wasn't my idea initially, just this idea of forking Uniswap, and then they kind of just evolved. And I think one of the reasons that it gained traction is it was sort of, I think as a DeFi building block, the Uniswap having a DEX AMM is sort of a no-brainer. Like it generates revenue, it gets used across the board everywhere, all kinds of things integrate with Uniswap. So in my mind, at least, like Swapper was sort of a great like cornerstone for DXDAO to like start doing something on its own, because now it's the first protocol we're deploying. It's an AMM on Ethereum and integrates easily, whether that's with Mesa, Omen, or whatever we're going to do in the future. It sort of provides a lot of utility. So that's just my like view on where we are now. And I think we have roadmaps kind of formulated for Omen and for Swapper. Mesa is sort of a question mark. I think Rails is a bit of a question mark. And then I think the really big question mark is, but Federico, feel free to jump in. Maybe it's not a question mark. But yeah, I think the bigger question is what's the big grand product strategy? And so hopefully we can talk about that a little bit here. I think 10 minutes is probably not going to be enough, but maybe we should have like, maybe one of the things we could talk about is like how do you even address this, right? Like, should we have dedicated meetings? How do we get community forum feedback, et cetera?
Before even how, I always think about like skating. There's that line Wayne Gretzky about skating to where the puck is going to be. But I think like the question is, DXDAO is like, well, where do we want to go? Is the end goal of like a good product to like what is that? And I think both it's driving revenue, right, to DXD. I think that's an important thing, and also like furthering goals and aims of DXDAO, whether that's decentralization or other things. So I think there's a lot of different factors that will be considered as like the end goal that we're trying to achieve in determining like how to get there.
Yeah, and anyone else wants?
But I think you talk about product strategy, but I think first it's like we need like a vision. How you said, Chris, is like we need more like a vision what we want to be, because then you can go back, and if you have like different products you want to build, you can ask yourself, is this close to your vision or is it not? And also with partnerships, if it's close to your vision, you do it. If not, then you don't do it. A vision is a great word for what are we? How? And I think that the product strategy is like, it's, if you have a clear vision, then the product strategy is like clear or more clear what we want to do. Yeah.
What do you think that vision looks like? Like, is that like a 3-pager? I mean, because we have the manifesto, which is like our like beliefs and history and kind of broad like belief vision, right? But then we don't have a 3 years from now, this is what we like are striving for DXDAO to look like. It has this ecosystem, these tools work like this. Like, so does it look like a 3-page document that like someone could start writing, and then we could add and make that, and then we can fit the products into that? Or is it like a deck? Like, how would you suggest making that vision?
I think maybe the best way is to ask question. I don't know. You know, that every one of us asks like question where we are, and if we know, it's difficult to answer because I don't know you very well, and I don't know your stories and your background, and I think the vision has to be something very long term. What I see is that we say we build tools for decentralized teams. That's one of our vision. We want to achieve that this kind of decentralized working culture is going to be big, and then this could be one vision. But how to achieve that? There's really so many companies are doing that, and I can look if I find some papers about that. It's not so difficult. Finally, there's methods. There's one method is that you put one method for this is you predict the future. You try to predict the future like 20 years later, and then you order these ideas we have. We order them in a map, which we think it's what we want to do in this area, and then we can make a vision out of that. It's not so. There are tools for this. They're widely used. So
one of the things you and I actually talked about, which actually could be a good way to get there, is, especially since you have a newer outside perspective, is like a list of those like 10 or 20 questions that need to be answered, like for someone looking in, or even what that vision is. And then once we could all answer those, and that would help us then create the vision.
Yeah, I think it's quite important because finally we are the DAO, and every one of us has a different vision for himself, but in a way it should be like a vision together, and I think we have to do it.
Yeah, so I actually think we're like further along in this vision idea than maybe we're giving ourselves credit for. I think the manifesto is kind of a good foundation, and I think there's this like vague conception unspoken amongst kind of people within the community that kind of understand where we're going, even though it's hard to formulate it. And so I think like just kind of bringing back the kind of product strategy, I'm just kind of saying we want to keep that vague idea in the future of how these ecosystems interact. We like kind of know, we're not exactly sure. We know we're going to that general area. But I'm just saying we want to consider that ecosystem and also like what's going to make us money next year, what's going to like kind of bring revenue in there, and like considering both of those for like kind of the product strategy. And then so kind of thinking about where the direction goes, I think as John said, thinking of financial building blocks, to me in DeFi, there are like two financial building blocks, right? An AMM and a lending platform, right, of some sorts, right? A DEX that you can do trading on, and some type of lending platform that can power a whole bunch of other things. So that to me seems like if we were going the continual, let's build a foundational building blocks route that I think we went with the Uniswap fork, and I think it would, some type of lending protocol would be the next. And I think the like blue ocean, or where a lot of people are maybe building in the space going forward, is probably in the derivatives space or something kind of in that, which is a little bit closer to the lending platform. I think those are like the big areas that we could skate into or drive into. And I think, yeah, it's a question is whether we're trying to build these big financial blocks or go where the opportunity is, next year. Because it's not like there are a lot of new lending platforms that are being launched. But like, if that's what we need to be part of the ecosystem, and maybe that's what we need to build.
You're muted, Martin.
Yeah, but I think then you are like a trend follower. Now I don't. Yeah, it's. I don't know if it's a good strategy long term. Because
It's
you
sorry,
take stuff who is there and you do it too with a little bit variation. So yeah, I'm a little bit critical about.
As someone who is currently managing a team and a product, it is quite difficult to have a vision for a year. I have a vision for 3 months, and that's actually great. But
That's your job.
I think yeah, it's. I mean, maybe I can like push it out for 6 months, but it could be a negative thing, but it's also like positive to be very dynamic and actually like can move quick if there are like new things coming up where we're like, okay, this makes sense to integrate and we can move quick here. But that's Omen. I think the quite interesting part is that there needs to be roadmap and vision for product and roadmap vision for DXDAO, the system. And then again, like how do they interconnect is another interesting thing which connects everything together, right? Like the DXDAO itself is connected to to Swapper and to Omen. And then like going full blown crazy, there's like other networks, which is again like XDAI, Omen on XDAI is a different product and may even like diverge from mainnet because like order books on XDAI are like crazy cheap, and we should like create an order book exchange for outcome tokens. So like it's actually very complex, but I think the first thing we should do, and as someone who's like caring about Omen, is definitely starting with the roadmap of the products, and then like trying to connect those with the DXDAO itself.
Yeah, with vision, I think there's like one trend I see. It's like decentralized infrastructure. It's not there. It's just on the move. There's like Graph protocol is doing stuff in this direction. Tries many different market participants try to do stuff this direction. But I think this is one thing who is evolving right now, and then it's a question: do we want to be part of this trend or not? And it's not. And then if you think maybe 10 years later, every IT platform is like decentralized, it won't be. But if you think about this, then what's the consequences for us? And we can still decide that there's no consequence for us because we try to see which protocols are big or going to be big when we copy them and make them change a little bit and maybe add it to our dashboard, and then we have like a like a product set who really fits together in a way. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I think we're leading the way in how things are done in sort of like with a decentralized governance. So I think, we're not necessarily, I think Omen is a cutting edge product. I think we are going to start pushing boundaries even with like Swapper and stuff, but I think where we're really a novel, group collective is how we do things, right? And I think we're kind of we're leading by example there in a lot of ways, and I think we should keep that in mind for how we go about the product strategy.
The thing is, can we get some revenue out of this?
And that's a key requirement, though, I think, is we should be aiming for revenue. And so I think another advantage that DXbiz has,
revenue about the decentralized stuff we do, not the project. I mean revenue out of the,
out of the governance, out of the fact that we're leading. Yeah.